Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Moore, and I'm going to share some meditations on memory. A few days ago on a plane, I had a strange memory glitch, and perhaps you've experienced something similar. You glance up at the passengers as they head down the aisle to their seats, and you recognize a face in the crowd. Your heart speeds up. It's someone you know intimately, someone about whom you have felt great depths of emotion. But there's also something disorienting about the experience, something deeply unnerving. There's the shock of recognition, yes, and the feeling that there's been an entanglement rife with epiphany and revelation. But here's the peculiar part. You can't quite place the person. Memories of the interactions between you feel unmoored from time or a particular geography. You don't remember where you might have met or how you know each other. Yes, you've seen him up close. In fact, you've seen him naked. You know the way his facial muscles wince and settle while making love, what he looks like when consumed with fear. You know how his eyelids droop if he's telling a lie. You even know how his body responds when pierced by bullets from AK-47s. It comes to you, you have seen him die, maybe more than once. Yes, you have seen him die several times. He glances back at you, but his glance is entirely devoid of the slightest hint of recognition. And finally, you have placed him. You have seen him on television. In a Netflix miniseries. Several miniseries. He's an actor. You do not know him at all. You blush. You have been duped by your own memory, tricked by smoke and mirrors. But was the memory recalled in this encounter entirely false, just because it was based on a story or fabrication, a made-up character, a dream, because it was backlit with stage lights, because the tears shed were drops of Visine? Or is the memory of him any less true or meaningful because it was founded on fiction? And those memories that are based on real people and events, in what ways are they untrustworthy? At the end of this summer, during a series of very hot days, I found myself cleaning my house in a fit of rage. How had things become so out of control? I kept all my diaries in a third-floor attic bedroom. My diaries, collected over 35 years, contained brief, fierce moments from every single day of my life, gestures and sensations, bits of overheard dialogue, losses and loves collected to use later in fiction. Sigmund Freud reminds us in his essay, The Mystic Notepad, that if we distrust our memory, we are able to supplement and guarantee its work by making a note in writing. But the trouble is the paper stacks up, and we still have to remember where we put the notes. He talks about a mystic writing pad, a child's toy that I remember from my own childhood, purchased at the dollar store. The pad has a sheet of wax covered by a piece of celluloid with a sheet in between. And when one presses on the plastic sheet with a stylo, the mark is retained on the middle sheet, but only until the two top sheets are lifted up, and then the writing is erased. However, the wax sheet at the bottom of the three sheets still contains the imprint of the mark. This mystic writing pad works like the unconscious, Freud suggests. The sheet of plastic like a prophylactic that allows the sensations to permeate but not be experienced until we're ready for them. Then they can float up to consciousness involuntarily when we need them. The South American writer Jorge Luis Borges has a story called The Library of Babel, about a library which contains every possible book that might be written by combining all the letters of the alphabet in every iteration possible. And though most of the books would, of course, be meaningless nonsense, there would also be books that contain every possible future and past, an infinity of knowledges. He describes in great detail the layout of the labyrinth of the library, of rooms off rooms and the ladders the librarians must climb, and how the shelves are not organized in any particular manner. There's no way to find the meaningful books. The library's a mess. My diaries had become like Borges' library, a labyrinth of memory built without a map, or like Freud's mystic writing pad, with the experiences buried deep. One day last August, while cleaning the house, I decided to throw the diaries out. I flung the notebooks in my car, hundreds of notebooks, filling the back seat and the passenger seat and the hatchback. When I reached the dump, on what must have been the hottest day of the summer, there was a survey of dump visitors in progress. A questionnaire, a written record of what you were throwing out and why. The survey created a traffic jam, hundreds of cars in front of me and behind me, the towers of my memories collapsing on my lap, toppling over my shoulders when I touched the brake. I was being buried in them. I reached for a notebook somewhere in the middle and caused an avalanche. I opened to an arbitrary page. My 5-year-old daughter's slip-on canvas sneakers, printed with red roses, and a wave spilling up over the beach rocks, the foam encircling her ankles, the water thick with capelin, the stink of dying fish, and the freckled boy beside her who reaches into the wave and hauls out a wriggling flash of silver, holds it by the tail, tilts his head back, opens his lips in the biggest O he can make, pretending he's going to lower the fish into his mouth and swallow it alive. I took up diary after diary, reading a page from 1996, and another from 2003, and one from 1987, and one from 2017. There I was on my wedding night in the Newfoundland hotel, my husband breaking a giant mirror by bumping into it, all the shards of his reflection tumbling onto the floor. A first date, the princess bride, the death of my father, Trump elected, how warm the marble of the Taj Mahal was under my bare feet, how straight and oversized and noble the nose of the female tango dancer in a Buenos Aires courtyard, her stilettos snapping on the stones. Finally, the traffic jam had broken up, and I was the next car through to the dumpsters. I lifted the sheet on the mystic writing pad of my life and tossed 35 years of notes away, pages fluttering like the wings of a bird in the wind. The actor shut the lid on the overhead bin. He sits beside me and begins to write a text on his phone, but he falls asleep, lost in the labyrinth dream world of his own. When we land, he wakes and looks at the text he was composing on his phone, and with his thumb, he touches the delete arrow, each tiny letter disappearing until the whole line zips away and all of the text on his phone has been erased. Thank you.